Hello and welcome to another edition of Soulivity Live. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I am so glad that you joined us. We have such a great show for you today. But before I get into today's show, I want to once again thank our guests from last week's show, the dynamic duo, husband and wife team of Kareem and Mamadou Sochu. Oh man, we talked about how they navigated the waters of creating a successful life for themselves and their marriage and their family. It was so good. But if you missed it, you can always see it by going to our website and watch it on Soulivity TV at soulivity.com. It's available for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for your inspiration. So let's get into today's amazing show. Um, One of my favorite childhood memories when I was growing up was when my parents took our family to see the Broadway hit, The Wiz. Oh man, talk about an incredible time. I mean, I already love the classic, The Wizard of Oz, but this was reimagined in a way where the essence of the original was presented in a soulful way. Well, one of the tunes that always stood out to me and even gets me emotional was the last song of the show. It's called Home. You see, it was the coming together of all of Dorothy's travels through Oz and the realization that home was always in reach the entire time, and that all she needed to do was think of home and click her heels 3 times. I'm remembering the beginning of that song where she said and sung, when I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. Remember that? So magical. Well, our very special guest, Jennifer Adams, has decided and dedicated her life to supporting people around the world in creating homes where their loving cups runneth over. Jennifer is an award-winning designer, author, and TV personality whose passion for calm, mindful living encourages others to do so with the same authenticity. Every day, Jennifer works to create high quality yet obtainable products that reflect her own Southern California easy, breezy, effortless style, believing everyone deserves to have a place where they love to come home to. Her creativity, content expertise, media presence, and recent graduation from Harvard Business School have all contributed to the continued growth of her business, Home by Jennifer Adams. Now, in her new book, Love Coming Home, love this, she creates a warm yet heartfelt guide to give each of us the tools and the knowledge to empower and make wherever we live a place where you will absolutely love coming home to. She teaches us, like Dorothy sang, that we must look inside of our hearts to find a world full of love like yours, like mine, like home. So it is my pleasure to welcome to Soulivity Live, Miss Jennifer Adams. Hey!
Hi, it's so nice to have you in my home.
Oh yeah, and it's as everybody can see, it's absolutely incredibly beautiful.
Thank you. I
Now,
appreciate I
everybody, listen, we love questions. So if you have a question for Jennifer during the next hour, please just post it to any of our social media chat boxes, and we are going to try to get to them as many as we can. So, Jennifer, oh gosh, I'm just going to hold this back up because the cover, as everybody can see, is perfect because it reflects everything in the book. It
think.
is literally about transforming your environment, you transform your life. Um, in the beginning of the book, specifically in the intro, you talk about, you have the title, which is Your Best Life Begins at Home. A house is made of bricks and board beams, but you go into the higher level consciousness around that. It's just not this brick and mortar, it's something else. When did this concept for you begin? When did you actually start thinking about home as more than just a place to throw some clothes and put a sofa in, or, just kind of just rest after work?
Well, I grew up way in the country in a very small home with six of us with very limited resources. And back then, I really didn't understand the importance of home. It was just a place where we lived. And then as I entered into the world of interior design and I was in clients' homes and in people's most intimate spaces, I saw a lot and I felt a lot of energy in these homes. And it really started clicking with me. And then I would go into my home and I would realize that the happiness in someone's environment wasn't necessarily when they had like the biggest, most expensive home. Oftentimes was in a more modest home that was
Mm,
just well appointed, clean, tidy, because just being in a home
mhm.
automatically I feel the space and I feel the energy. And so it was just a combination of all the years. And then I would think back to the moments where I felt joy in our home growing up and in my bedroom and then in my current home. And then it really all started clicking to me that, wow, home beyond just being the beauty that we see with our eyes, it is so powerful because we start our day there, we end our day there. And oftentimes we're thinking about our next home being our best home. And we don't really get about the business of living in our current home because we think that whether it's shared, rented, or owned, a lot of times we're still looking to that next thing as opposed to focusing on where we are now. And that's what I love is like sharing with anyone that wherever you live right now has the ability to be your platform for your best life.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, we were talking earlier, you grew up in Oregon,
Hmm.
and I know from my travels into the Northwest that there is this calming kind of energy that's there that exists even in like the bigger cities like Portland or Seattle. There is this kind of energy that's there where everything kind of is the way that it's supposed to be in terms of like
Hmm.
roads and things like that. And the environmental rules in there is fabulous too. I mean, the air is clean and that kind of thing. You were talking about this, you were growing up in your room. So is that kind of like where you were connecting with what you wanted to do with your life at that point, or did that come later?
It came later. I grew up in a pretty isolated environment and I didn't have a lot of hopes and dreams beyond I wanted to be a hairdresser. I knew. I grew up being because my grandmother was one, so I saw that example.
Yeah.
But I grew up with, like I said, limited resources, like many have, and I used to pick strawberries to earn money when I was 13, and then I had a house cleaning job all through high school with my sister, where we would clean houses to earn money, and all I knew was that I wanted to make more than minimum wage. I really didn't back then know what I wanted for my life. And once I got out of high school, I grew up in a very religious environment a pretty isolated religious environment where school beyond high school wasn't encouraged. It was, in fact, frowned upon. And
Wow.
so I really didn't know how my life would go. And I got a job as a receptionist in Portland, which was like an hour drive from where I was living. And as that receptionist, I saw all these people coming and going. And I was so curious and I would ask them about their life and I would get all different answers. Some people would engage me in conversation and some would be like, just leave me alone, go back to answering the phones and just let me be on my way. But having that exposure to all different walks of life and different people coming and going all day long, I realized that, wow, there are so many different paths in life. And I would ask people, did you go to school? Because I didn't go to school until I just very recently graduated from business school.
Mhm.
And so I didn't really have any confidence in my ability to do anything. And then I started realizing that, wait a minute, all these people I was meeting were creating their best life, some educated, some not educated, some came from money, some had no money, like I was my circumstance at that point.
Right.
And then I stumbled upon a 6 week so interior design trade school, and I in that when I was very young at that point, and I decided to sign up for that course because I knew that really interested me, and I knew I wanted something different for my life. But I never, at that point, I still didn't know what my life could become. And then I took some very meaningful steps with some different mentors and different tools that I got along the way, which I don't know if you want me to talk about that now, but there are
Yeah,
some.
well, to that point, I was going to say, and I'd like to back into the mentorship piece because everyone, this is like something that is consistent in the stories of people who have their journey and they're moving into living from their heart and that kind of thing. Um, Many of the people who are on here, they always have this, aha, that's what I'm going to do. Right. And it's not like, aha, like, well, maybe. It's like, no, this is what I need to do with my life. It not only makes sense up here, but it makes more sense here. Do you remember that moment?
I do. And I'll tell you, I think once you pick your career, at least for me, that it can still evolve, it can still transition. And oftentimes we hold back
Right.
getting into what it is we want to do for fear of this has to be permanent, or I am I sure this is what I want to do the rest of my life. And you just have to jump in and do it and start. It doesn't mean that that's what you're going to do. So I have had moments where when I first started doing interior design, I had no confidence. Like I wouldn't have hired myself when I got out of my 6 week trade school. But I had a beautiful instructor who owned the school back then. Her name was Jan Springer, and she saw my lack of confidence, and she was my first mentor. So she really took me under her wing. And in fact, somebody had called the school and said, we need a low cost designer. We can't afford much. And she referred me, and I charged $300 to design the entire home, which is ridiculous. I mean, if anyone has a designer now, that may buy 2 hours of their time, let alone the whole house. But I wasn't confident enough to charge anything. And so, but back then I loved it. I loved being in someone's home and setting like a big picture vision and then executing on it. But there became a point in my career where that no longer excited me. And just being completely candid, like I would love to say like, oh yeah, I just hit my sweet spot and that's where I was comfortable. But I started realizing that I was working out of fear, and fear of going
Mm.
back to the old life that I no longer wanted. I didn't want to clean houses. I didn't want to, I was making people's beds years and years and years before I had my own bedding company, and I was cleaning their toilets. And I didn't want to go back to the town where I was raised. I didn't want to go back to all that. So that's what drove me forward. But I never once thought, what is I want to do? And I would be in around other people, and especially my clients who every single time had a lot more money and resources than I did. And I was so intimidated. And finally, a dear mentor of mine, his name's Eli Morgan. I met him at a charity function, and he had run a lot of successful businesses and he was based in Portland at that time. And he said to me, so what do you want? And I said, well, maybe I'll, at that point I was like, I'll stay with interior design, or maybe I'll do real estate. He's like, no, no, no. What if you had no restrictions? What do you want for your life? And I had never ever thought about that, because I didn't even think I was deserving of any more than what I was already doing. And that awareness really expanded my vision and my horizon, and it gave me hope for something that was more fulfilling to me. And then that hope gave me the courage to do the work that it took to transition my business and evolve. And it, by the way, it did not happen overnight, but it really got me thinking, okay, what fires me up?
Mm.
And I realized that I loved the big picture dreaming of coming into someone's home and making their,
Wow.
yeah, I loved that. But you
That
know
is
what I didn't?
incredible. And it feels like it was just like this connect the dots, right? Like I was telling the story of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and the Wiz. It's like this has always been here.
It has always been there. But I also then identified what it was I didn't like about my current career.
Mm.
And I became to dislike the execution part, which if anyone knows anything about interior design, you've got to execute on the vision. So it all fell apart for me. I remember having one client that I was doing it in the Pearl District in Portland, this amazing penthouse. And he's looked at me, he goes like, Jennifer, you got to finish stronger than you started. Because I was already on to the next client and setting that big vision, because that's what excited me. And I was like, you know what? He's absolutely right. And I thrive on constructive feedback and taking like that advice. And I'm like, what's going on for me? And I realized I need to figure out my passion. And so I expanded my vision and realized that home was where I wanted to be. Home like really excites me. I love it. I'm so comfortable and grounded in a home environment.
Right.
And I wanted to continue to bring a sense of joy and peace and love into everyone's home. So I looked for clues into other people who had careers in the home space, but they weren't having to necessarily execute on that vision. And this is going to sound silly because this is so big compared to where I was at that time, but I really, this helped me but I looked at like Martha Stewart and I realized, okay, she is talking to people about home and how to make their home nicer. And this was years and years ago.
Right.
So and this is so many years before I ever wrote a word even on a blog, let alone had a book or spoke a word on TV. And I knew nothing about product development. I knew nothing, but I looked at her example and I broke down the different things that she was doing and then and it really got me excited and got me thinking and had this bigger life plan for myself that
Mhm.
really thrilled me. And so then I broke that down into little teeny baby steps. Because at first I had no idea how I would even get into a product based business or one where I am creating content to help other people design their home for themselves. So now I'm not going into people's homes and doing it, but I'm giving them the tools and the platform. And I love every single second of that. And so it's been, yeah. So
Well,
that's why.
I think that when I think about the book, I think about it in that way, that it's not like, oh well, this is this design book and here's the things and da 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 da. I mean, you have some of that, but it's more about the tools and some of the techniques that you need to do. And there's some inner work here too, right? Because you're trying to create this outer extension of who you are. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's more like a guide to become more self-aware so that you can design and create a place around you that is reflective of that. I want to go back to something that you were just talking about before, and that is that you had this mentor asked you, what do you want? Right? And
Mhm.
it's related to something in the book that you talk about the concept of what's holding you back, right? Um, you might even have thought or had dreams about some of this, but even that was kind of blocked off because of your own view around what was possible, right? Or
Yes.
what was expected, even probably a better term. Um, what was holding you back? Do you know?
Insecurity. was holding me back more than anything, and not necessarily feeling deserving. And so in do you want to know specifically from a career standpoint or from a home environment standpoint? Because I can go, I've got thoughts on that, because I used to be the queen of putting limiting restrictions on myself, and
Mm,
then backed by limiting behaviors. And it wasn't until I really identified that I didn't feel deserving
mm,
of the big lives and the big dreams that I saw everybody having.
mm,
And that plays a role from my career standpoint, from my relationship standpoint, even from the home standpoint.
mhm.
And it's still something that I have to step back and in battle, because but that awareness really helps me proceed despite that fear and that insecurity that can creep up at times. And I think that's the key for anybody, that if you're not feeling fulfilled in your life, you're not feeling fulfilled in your home, is know that you are deserving. If you don't feel you are, you must proceed anyway, despite that, and know that you don't always need to know how you're going to get to that end result, but you do need to proceed and take action, and that action will help you conquer that fear, and one little baby step at a time. And that applies to your life and as you're putting your home together.
You again in the, and I think you just summed up my what I was looking at, and that is, I find that it's all connected, right? It's your life, right?
Yes.
Your job or your profession, your home, your relationship, your family, being a parent. It's all interconnected. It's all part of your life, and it all begins and a lot of times ends with how we perceive ourselves, right? Um, I'm going to get into what I call the I don'ts, which kind of relate to this. But before I do, I wanted to talk about, because you were just hinting on it, another powerful concept that's in the book that relates to how we create this place that we love to come home to is owning it. Woo!
Mhm.
Owning it. And the it is everything that you were just talking about, right? Where what's holding you back? You were talking about that for you was this insecurity. Um, what was the process that you used to own it? To own, okay, all
It's
right,
fun.
Jennifer, I'm insecure. Okay.
It, it's funny you say, because I have a second book called How High Can You Soar,
Wow.
and the first chapter is owning it. So it's funny that you picked in Love Coming Home as well, because it's such an important topic. Like, a lot of times we will put off our goals and our dreams because of expectations of other people, and we'll use other people as the excuse for not having our best life. So whether it's that whether it's a job that you didn't get or a promotion you didn't get, you're like, oh, that person was a jerk, they stole it from me, versus what could I have done differently in that interview, or what tools could I have created for that I could have done better. So we have like these learning steps, and then what will I do better the next time, and really owning that in everything from our finances to where we're living to the careers we have to the relationships we're in, and not living our life for is someone else going to be thinking of me, or what is someone else expecting of me. And that makes a huge difference. And in your home environment, since we are talking about love coming home right now, not how high can you soar, in your home environment, your home, whether you're sharing it and you just have one bedroom in someone's home, or you own your dream home, wherever you live, you actually have the power to impact that environment, where you don't really have that power to impact the environment and probably anywhere else in your life as much as maybe your little office cubicle, if you're even going to an office. But right now, home has never been more important, or taken on so much meaning in the environment. Just like your energy attracts other energy to you, your home environment does give you that basis for your best life to begin. So if you're living in clutter or mess, that is not, it breeds guilt, it breeds anxiety, it takes you longer to get ready in the morning. It's not, doesn't make you feel good about yourself. Simple things like getting up every day and making your bed. It seems
Wow.
like a silly, simple thing, but it's something that you've accomplished. And then that, knowing that you accomplished that, you can go on and accomplish the next thing. When you get home at the end of the night, or you're probably, a lot of us are home all day right now, but walking by that neatly made bed it does something subconsciously to you and makes you feel good about yourself. And having an environment that is pleasing to your eye, but not just to your eye, an environment that's pleasing to all your senses, because
Right.
when you walk into a home or a room and it just feels right, and we all know, we've all had that feeling like, wow, this is, oh, I wish I could have this home, I wish I could have this space. And automatically we think they must have hired a designer, they must
Right.
have more money than I have, they must be more talented. It's usually, actually, they may have all those things, but they have typically, whether they knowingly do this or not, they've taken into account all the senses when putting that room together, because there's so much more to an environment than just that visual piece. You pay attention to what you hear, the sounds in the room, the smells, your even in the kitchen, their sense of taste, even your sixth sense, your intuition, your gut feeling in a
Mm.
room. And when you pay attention to even, and your sense of touch in a space is so important. And when you start looking at an environment as your whole being and your whole body, it actually makes it easier to put that room together, but it makes it so you can walk into your space and say, wow, this feels good.
Right.
And there's, design isn't magic. I learned so many years, like now over 20 years, way a little bit, way over 20 years. So I'm going to age myself here. But I took a 6-week trade school that was like so teeny. And then I learned in my clients' homes, like the poor beginning first ones where I didn't really know what I was doing. And then it grew from there. But I learned through trial and error, and design is not magic. There are some guidelines that you can do when you're putting a home together. And I talk about that in Love Coming Home. The
Wow.
same guidelines that pertain to one room pertain to the entire home.
Okay.
And even like if someone I've designed people's airplanes or their yachts, and that the same principles
Mhm.
that apply to putting together a bedroom apply to those are rooms and spaces as well. So it's not that you then have to infuse your personal individual style, and that's the beauty of your space. Like, I love a neutral environment, and I'm in my personal space at home, and this is my office, and this is where I spend a good portion of my day when other than when I'm in my regular office. And
Mhm.
I like to have a neutral environment. But you may prefer color, and that
Right.
doesn't mean that your individual style is wrong and mine's right. It's really about making your home
Mhm.
a unique expression of yourself.
Wow.
Nobody else, yourself. Now, and your family, if you have a
Right,
family.
right. You have to blend and have all the different pieces of this beautiful panorama put into the spaces within the home, right?
Yes. And once your home is a reflection of you, it will feel good to you. And then there's some tools to help you make that work from a design standpoint. So, for example, the layering effects of a
Right.
room. And I'll slide myself over a little bit, just show you here
Well,
in
I
my
tell you what,
space.
why don't we take a quick commercial break,
Okay.
and when we come back, we'll go into like your beautiful office space, which I just want to kind of like cuddle on that beautiful couch right now. But yeah, why don't we take a break, and everybody will come back with more from Jennifer Adams, and then we'll also talk a little bit about visualization and vision boards. I want to talk a little bit about that too. So
Wonderful.
we'll be right back.
Great.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Hello everyone, Brian Wesley Johnson with Soulivity Magazine. We have an incredible event coming June 21st, that's Sunday, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Conciencias con Cocktails with your host, Javier Pedrosa. It's going to be a 50th Pride Latinx anniversary event right here on the magazine with Giselle Extravaganza and Jose Extravaganza, Amra La Negra, and our own in-house DJ Dawson is going to be turning the tables. Also, we've got other special guests, Angel Vasquez, Daniela Simba, Chris Cabrera, and Diane Morris are going to be talking to Jose for a very special panel. So don't miss it. That's June 21st. That's tomorrow from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here at Soulivity Magazine. See you then.
All right, we are back with Jennifer Adams, and I'm just getting some things here so that we can kind of talk a little bit more. Wait a minute. Oh. And I turned off my video. Hey, live show, everybody. Things happen. I cannot wait for tomorrow's show, by the way. That's going to be fabulous with Conscience con Cocktails. So everybody join us for that. Jennifer, we were talking about the beautiful space that you've created for yourself in your home. It's right where everybody's looking at this beautiful space behind you. Can you kind of go through how you took a vision and you created the space, and we've been talking about balancing, right? You talk about how you balance a room. Can you go take us, like, walk us through a little bit of that in terms of how you created that wonderful space?
Absolutely. And like I was saying before the break, it's important to infuse your personal style. I personally like neutrals. So you may love neutrals, you may not, but I'll show you how I'll just give you a quick example of how to put a room together. The same principles apply if you want color or you don't want color, it's depending on what you love. So the sofa I have is white, obviously, which isn't the most practical because I have dogs that spend the majority of the day in here with me, so I'm constantly cleaning it. But I use a high performance fabric or an outdoor fabric typically on almost all my furniture because then I can wash it easily. But when you're putting a room together, sometimes if it doesn't feel quite right, so a cheat sheet that I actually haven't loved coming home is to look at your room from the ground level, mid-level, and then eye level. And what that means is to make sure you have balanced the color throughout the space. So even though my room looks neutral, the warm tone from the rattan plates that are on the wall, that's a color, and it's a shot of color. So I brought that color to the mid-level through the accent pillows. And so that is actually the color I chose. And then I brought it to the ground level with my little tree stump coffee tables and end tables, and that layers it. And so then I also took the color from the neutral, like, oat milk pillow that I have sitting on the sofa, and made sure that I brought that to the ground level in my area rug too. So then I've layered those tones. I even have a little meditation. Oh, and I've got a dog toy sitting on the That's my real life.
Too,
That's layering. Yeah, I need to bring that orange stuffed animal somewhere. But bringing that, again, that same warm tone, it looks like it's on accident, but it's actually purposeful. So when you look at your room from the ground level, mid-level, eye level, and make sure you've layered those colors and also texture. And then another way to look at a room is ribboning and circling it around the room. So, and for example, if you have all your color on the sofa, it's almost like being on a rowboat and there's a whale coming by and everyone's standing on one side, the boat's going to tip over. And that's the effect that when all you do is put decorative pillows on your sofa and call it a day. But instead, take whatever your colors are and ribbon them around the room. So I've taken this, I wasn't prepared to necessarily show the room off, but so I've taken this accent color of the oatmeal color and brought it into a chair that is across from the oatmeal pillow.
Gorgeous.
And then thank you. And then some of the hints of black that are in the plates, I introduced across the room in a throw blanket. So I've ribboned that tone around in a circular manner, as well as ground level, where I have some hints of black in the rug as well, mid-level, eye level, and then do it in a circular motion. So ways that you can bring color at different levels are through, for example, like a tree. And a tree or a plant is a color, it's green. And as opposed to just having one tree, you could ribbon that green around. So maybe a little plant on the coffee table, so bring that into the center of the room. Maybe a floor plant on the other side of the room, so ribbon that around. If I had, let's say, my accent pillows were blue and my coffee tables were the wood tone, then I would purposely put a blue object in the center of the room, or a blue coffee table book, because then that helps bring that color balanced more around the room. You don't see that happening here because my coffee table is the accent color that I have. So I don't need to layer that on top of that.
And the coffee table and the other tables, for me, as I look at that room, provide like this. Okay, this is like a foundational kind of thing. Like here, your grounding is more of a grounding effect. I think sometimes the way that you're describing it is almost sometimes the opposite of, okay, well, I'm going to buy this accent piece, right? Like, oh, I'm in love with this sofa, or I'm in love with this table, and then they try to surround it with all this other stuff, but they don't go through the process at which you're talking about, where, okay, I might like this table, but what else am I going to layer with it that reflect my heart, right? My heart space.
And that's so important when you're putting a room together. So when you're starting with a room, so let's say you are, whether you have a budget to go out and buy everything you need to buy, or you're doing it, sharpening at yard sales or Goodwill, the same principles apply. And we'll talk about vision boards in a minute and how you can use those in your home, so you can create your own design plan, even if you can't afford to implement it right now. But it's just like you're creating your life goals, and you chunk them down into manageable pieces that you can accomplish. You can do the same with putting your home together. So you put your long-term vision together. When you're starting a room from scratch, it's so important to pick out your big pieces first. If you start with an accent item, I can guarantee you, once you put your room together, you're like, oh, I don't really like this. Oh, yeah. So if you can, unless you have an object from travels or a piece that you absolutely love, you can build your room around it. So you start with buy the big pieces first. So like your sofas, if you have armoires, and then go into the coffee tables. So that would be like the secondary size, and then work your way down to the smaller pieces. So the accents should always come in last, because that's where you can make mistakes, because until you have the big pieces anchoring, you really don't know what you need to layer in, how much, how little, how big, like you just don't know. And so if you can save those pieces till the end, and by the way, you don't need a lot of accent items. And so if you have a room right now that's already full, but it's not feeling quite right, something that I always encourage to people to do, and I do this myself to this day, take out every accent item, every single thing. And if you are bold enough, take out every accent item from every room in your house. And this is what I used to do for clients all the time, and I loved it. Pile it in one area, and then look at the objects and say, what do I love here and what do I not love here? The things that you don't love, but even if you spent a lot of money and you're like, I don't want to waste that, take it out of the pile and put it in a potential giveaway pile. You don't have to give it away yet, but just if you don't love it, don't put it in the pile that's going to go back. And then you look at the objects that you're left with, and then take your priority room and put your favorites, start layering them, reimagining where these accessories can go, because it's so easy when you have like a candlestick on the mantle that's been there forever that you really can't see your way around that candlestick. But once you clean everything out of that environment and see it as an empty blank slate, it's so much easier to imagine it in another way, or take an image you've seen on Pinterest. Once you have your space blank, it's so much easier to reproduce that look in your own home, but it's really difficult to do when you're looking at your existing accessories, if that makes sense.
Yeah, as you were talking about it, I've heard friends of mine that have had great designers come into their space, and they're like, oh, and they're basically kind of like, oh, I'll just get rid of everything. And the designer comes in and says, well, wow. And they go through the process that you just talked about, which is leave the main pieces there, but let's just take all this other stuff out. And then they start one by one bringing stuff back in until the room is the way that it's supposed to be, even stuff from other rooms. Right. And then they find out that they didn't need to go out and get rid of a whole bunch of stuff, maybe a couple of things, or they needed to buy a couple of things, but their energy was already there. They just needed to rearrange it in a way in the rooms that reflected how they felt.
It's so true. You don't need to go out and buy all new things at all. Even if you're transitioning the space, something, let's say you don't love your space now, and a lot of people don't. That's the reality of it. They're not loving their home, or wanting to come home to it, or wanting to be sheltered in place in your home for a long time. Like,
but I'm pretty sure that people right now are really gotten in tune with their space. I mean, this is why this book is so important, right? Because you're there for all, stay at home.
Our home has become, for most, our place of work. It's our schools, it's our gym, it's our restaurant, it's a church for many, sometimes it's a hospital for many. I mean, and I want to acknowledge all the people on the front line right now who don't have the ability to be in their home, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for being out there, protecting us from a health standpoint, making sure we have our essential needs and services. So thank you for that. And then the others that are in their home right now, having it, I think our homes will never have the same meaning that they had before. I think the whole world of home has evolved and grown so much over the past couple of months that having that realization, my hope is that it will help me to really take care of our space and look at it from a whole different level. And having multi-purposes in one room is the reality. And there are ways you can do that. So for example, if you need to create an office in a living room, instead of having a place for a desk, you could put behind the sofa, maybe a sofa table, and that becomes a desk. It's really important that each person in the family have a space of their own, even if it's a small space. So let's say it's even an end table that's designated as yours. Like that's where you can put your things. It's a corner that is yours. Like having some space to call your own is really important. Even if it doesn't need to be a large space. You could take the end of a hallway that dead ends and put a shelf there. You could hang a shelf on the wall, and that shelf can become a place to put your laptop, and that can become a desk. There are ways to carve out some creative nooks and crannies for yourself to make it a place where you can thrive and do the activities that you need to do.
I love it. I love it. And I, again, that the importance of that, if you're in a home, everyone, if you have a family, or if you have your partner, your husband, your wife, and you're sharing this space, that everybody has input into how the home is, and that everybody, traditionally, to your point, Jennifer, that everybody has their own little slice of heaven within that home, right? Where, like you said, it doesn't need to be a room. It could be just a space, a desk, whatever it is, but that everybody feels like, yeah, I'm connected. Because I hear that. That's what I'm hearing from you, that everybody needs to feel connected into the home, because that in part is like you coming home to a home that you love and you want to be there. Um, while we have time, I want to make sure, like as always with Soulivity, and as like it is in your book, I want to give people some tools and some information about, starting this process. Everybody, if you want to know more, you're gonna have to go get the book. Okay, so I'm just go get the book. Um, Vision boards, visualization is a very important step in moving into creating this space or reimagining this space. Tell us a little bit about the importance of vision boards first, and
Okay.
then kind of give us just the high level basic steps around creating and then using a vision board while we have some time.
Okay. So a vision board is a place where I could show, I actually have mine sitting over here.
Oh, yay!
I'll show you. I'll just do a
Yay.
quick spin. It is, this one's not pertaining to home, this one's pertaining to life, and it's
Okay.
I have it down here on my floor. So a vision board is a board that is makes your dreams and your hopes visual for yourself. And the reason why vision boards are really important is you when you're setting a goal for yourself, it's important to write it down, get it out of your head. But also when you make it visual and you put up images that reflect the outcome you want
Mhm.
and the feelings and the emotions that you want, it really keeps you focused on making those goals and those dreams come true. It also helps you when you see an image that it's come true for somebody, so why not you? It just makes it feel more possible. And so with your home, the use of vision boards, it becomes that same tool. And you when I used to design homes for people, and any designer, they start with setting the vision, and they typically do that through what they call like a project board or an inspiration board, and they put all these different images out to make the look visual for the client. So you creating a vision board for your home is that same process. So whether you get a cork board like I use, or you're doing it on your refrigerator, basically from a home standpoint, you collect images of looks that you love in a home. You can get them through magazines, you can get them through Googling and then printing the image. You can get them from snapping photos. I've snapped photos of people's exteriors of their home, not while they're looking, but take pictures and of environments that you love. And at the beginning, you don't need to know how you're going to accomplish that look. You're just setting the big picture for yourself. You don't even need to know when you're going to be getting that home necessarily, if it's a bigger home you desire. And then you can create a vision board for each individual room. And that's where you start drilling down into the actual pieces and the colors. And when you create a vision board for an individual room, which I go into a lot in Love Coming Home and have some visuals on how to do this. You basically take a picture of your blank room, put it up on your vision board, and then you start to take photos of sofas. So let's say you're going to incorporate some of the existing pieces you have. You can take pictures of the existing pieces that you do have as well. And then you layer them on the board almost in the same way that they would be layering in the room. And then you can start seeing that room coming together. So put your sofa in the, let's say your sofa is like where mine is, that would be in the upper quadrant of my vision board. And then I layer photos of the coffee tables in front, and then lower down below, maybe like the area rug, and layer your vision board as with these images that you're finding, and you're taking pictures, because then you'll see like, wait a minute, I like this sofa, but those end tables, that style doesn't really look good, because you're making it visual before you're buying anything to add into your room. And then you can start seeing a look come together, and then you can take that look and take a picture of it with your phone if you're going into a store to shop, or you're doing it online, and you can find something that has a very similar look. Even if you're going to a yard sale, then before you haul that item back home, because it does that image match this look and this aesthetic that I've selected. You'd even do it with colors for the wall, like take paint swatches, put them right there on that vision board, because then you can start seeing how the color plays a role in like the area rug inspiration that you might like, or a piece of art that you already have or that you want to buy. And by the way, art does not need to be expensive. And I go into, there's so many ways to get art that doesn't cost a lot of money on your wall. You can frame pictures that you find in a magazine, you can put into a frame, you can hang them up on the wall and make a beautiful piece of art out of that. It doesn't need to cost anything. Yeah. So many solutions for that.
I have my folks taught my brother and I about vision boards and treasure maps. They're kind of interchangeable terms a long time ago, and they really, 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 really do work. They focus the energy, right? I mean, because that's the point of it all, right? That you don't want these disparate thoughts about how you want your home to be. You want to focus those and really hone down on, okay, how do I want this environment to be, right? Am I correct on that?
It's so true. Yeah. And I love that you've grown up with using vision boards, because they've made my biggest dreams come true. Like sometimes I keep, whether I put a vision board together for a home or for my dreams and goals, it's important to semi-affix each image, because as they come true, you want to be able to take them off. And I always encourage people, don't throw those images away, file them. Because for me, if I'm having a down day, down month, down year, it's really encouraging to open
that's one thing I need to start doing. I need to keep them. I need to file them to keep the energy, right? Because that is a dream fulfilled. So,
yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because for that.
It's so powerful when you open up this folder of all your dreams that you thought were impossible at one point in your life, and those came true. It's so inspiring for you to have the confidence that this next goal, this next dream, your next evolution of your life, your home, has the potential to come true as well. So yeah, I love my old images of come true. Now there's certain things that when they come true. So for example, I was single for a long time, and I had images of the love I wanted that I put up on my board. And then when I got that love, I've actually kept it up there, because it's so easy for me to take for granted the person that I'm in love with in my life. But if I see that image on my board, I'm like, wait a minute, this is really important. What can I do to take ownership of making this relationship continue to be good? And because it is still important to me. So I have images that I actually don't ever remove, but I move them around on the board, because I have certain things as I bring in new images and continually look and see, is this still what I want? Is this still incongruent with what I want in my home or in my life?
Wow, incredible. What's so cool about all this is that, I'm 52 now. We started using vision boards when I was like 8 or 9.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been a long time. And some years you are more active than others. But like you said, and I actually need to do this more, and I'm telling this to all of you out there too, your biggest dreams do manifest themselves when you are very driven and focused on creating these and using these. And everyone, I just posted a link to an article that Jennifer wrote about the power of vision boards as well. So please go and read that. But yeah, I mean, and again, we spend how many hours of our lives, even just every day in our home, and we're not focusing and like a laser on, like, okay, what is this space supposed to be like? Because like you, I mean, you're in your creative space. I can even feel from that space that it's powerful. It's a powerful energy. So when you walk in there, it's there. You're like, doesn't care what happened 5 minutes, an hour ago. When you walk into that space, it's like, whoop.
Mm-hmm.
Is that way for you?
It is. And when I walk into a space that doesn't feel good to me, the thing that I know is I can make little tweaks and adjustments to make it feel better. It doesn't, and I don't necessarily have to spend any more money to do it. It can be as simple as clearing away the clutter, fluffing the pillows back up, making sure the floor, if you're barefoot, the floor you're walking on is not gritty or sticky, that it's clean. Your countertops are clean. The room smells good. Something that my mom used to do when I was growing up that I hated because I lived in Oregon where it was rainy and cold at the time. We opened up our windows and our doors every single day for 15 minutes to let the fresh air come in. And now I do the same. But at the time I didn't like it. I didn't appreciate it. But having that fresh air in your space, even if you live in a really hot environment or a really cold environment, if you just let that fresh air come in for a few minutes every day, clears out the odor, it just helps revive your space. That alone is a huge energy shift in your home too.
Wow. Well, we've run out of time.
Oh,
I cannot believe we've run out of time. Will you come back?
oh, I would love to. I have so much more to share.
Oh yeah. Oh well, I want you to share it. I do.
Thank you.
It's incredible. But before we go, you and I actually have some exciting news to tell people about. Now, on Wednesday, Soulivity, we kicked off an exciting new collaboration with the publisher of your book, Beyond Words. And as part of that, we created, and I'm going to kind of show people real quickly about this. We created the Soulivity Magazine Book Club, Inspiration Central.
Woo-hoo.
And so happy about it. And as part of that, we are doing book giveaways. So you get a book, and you get a book. But what you need to do is you need to go to our Facebook page. I'm going to put the link in our chat so that everybody will have it. And you need to sign up. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be giving out information on how you can win a book. And specifically why, Jennifer's here and why we're talking about all this, and we're going to continue to talk about it in subsequent shows, is that we're giving away Love Coming Home this week. So if you want a copy of this, you must go to Soulivity Magazine's book club on Facebook and sign up, and we're going to give you all the details on how you can do it. So we're so excited, Jennifer. It's going to be great. Oh,
I'm so honored
to. So awesome.
Thank you. I'm so
thank you for being here. Just love what you're doing. Our homes are so important, and we need to treat them like the temples of power they are, and create a place where when we come home, it's a place of respite, it's a place of love, it's a place of support, and that we have a home that we love coming home to. So thank you for being here. I really, 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 really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I've loved every second of it. Thank you so much. I love what you're doing.
Absolutely. So everybody, wow, what a great show. Coming next Saturday, we have even more great inspiration. We welcome astrologer coach Sonia Francis to talk about how to gain the outer knowledge and inner understanding needed to uncover your soul's greatest potential. Also, Soulivity editor at large, D'Angelo Thompson, is going to be with us. He has a fabulous book coming out in July. We're going to be talking with him about that. Maybe we'll team the two of them up. Maybe we'll do a little bit of readings, you know, that kind of thing. Maybe take some online readings as well. So don't miss this show. Also, remember, don't forget to check out Soulivity TV, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just for you. And airing live tomorrow, that's Sunday, for our self-care Sundays, is Morning Yoga with Michaela. Our special 50th Latinx Pride event, Conciencias con Cocktails with Javier Pedrosa, and live with Jesse and Melva, or as I call them, Mom and Dad, for great relationship advice as well as how to live your best life. So check out our website for more details. I'll be expecting that you're going to be watching tomorrow. Okay, so with that, on behalf of myself and my wonderful guest, Jennifer Adams, woo woo, we're going to be seeing more of her here. I want to say thank you for joining us. And of course, I'm wishing you love, passion, purpose, and high quality living. See you later, guys.